There's a new sheriff in town patrolling the backside of the formation that Patrick Mahomes throws from. His name is Jawaan Taylor, and we're going to tell you all about him right here today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It's Locked On Chiefs, a special live version of the show today because of free agency news. It changes the way that we do things. We're going to get all the way into what has happened with the offensive tackles coming up later in the show, how this could be real, and it might be a bit of a smokescreen. They may not be done yet, and we're going to start today with Jawaan Taylor, all we know about him and what you can expect. We're going to get into it, but first, thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next one. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free on every platform. We very much appreciate you being here. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where you can pre-order the Athletic Matrix right now at rogueapc.com. And you can also find my draft work at NFL33.com and RGR Football.
And I'm Chris Clark. Thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. I'm from Chiefs Corner, and I'm going to be breaking down the Jawaan Taylor contract information on Chiefs Corner once we get more information. All we know right now is the length and how much money there is. A lot to talk about when you start looking at how much the bonus was and how that's going to get applied. But there is a ton to talk about, and if you haven't already, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell on YouTube. We would appreciate that. 4 years, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed for Jawaan Taylor. Interesting to me is that's top tackle market deal.
It is. So APY was clearly not a concern for the Kansas City Chiefs. They feel like we've talked about this run up here, that they can manage the cap in a successful way. Do they have to go back down to 177? No, but they feel confident in doing that and being able to build it back up. So that clearly is the first thing that signals, right?
Yeah, and I think that you start looking at what this can mean for Kansas City. I know we're talking about Jawaan Taylor. This is going to have ripple effects across their entire roster and what they're going to do and build. So this is a huge move for them, and it's great that they got it done almost immediately. And really, it's funny because this reminds me of the Joe Thuney signing a couple years ago, because nobody thought that Joe Thuney was going to go to Kansas City, and there were very few people, I think, that actually thought Taylor was an option in KC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even when we had discussed him, we had mentioned in passing, hey, he's been an ascending player, but he's only played on the right-hand side. Now, that's true. I went back and checked. He had 178 snaps at left tackle in college even, and that's it. That's all of it. That is a big piece of this puzzle. But let's stick with the immediacy right now. You gave this contract. We don't know the structure like you said, but I have to think that this is going to be something that plays into this year's needs with a low base salary so that they can make sure they keep cap space for now. And that while the 60 is guaranteed, I don't know how much of it is in year one. Do you?
No, I don't. That hasn't been announced. And I did go look back and look, and I think Taylor actually played 18 snaps at left tackle in the 2022 season. So just something to think about. He has been there a little recently. Not very much, obviously, 18 snaps compared to 1,000 over on the right side. When you look at this move, though, $60 million guaranteed tells you what they think of this player.
Mm-hmm.
They think he's a fantastic player. And we're getting that information from the agent. So more than likely, that's not fully guaranteed. That's probably injury guarantee would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we will find out, and I will let you know as soon as I know more information. 25 years old, this is the type of player that you want to give this to. He is still ascending. He is still becoming a better player, and he is getting ready to hit his prime. This is a great move.
We need to talk about a number of things. In the next segment, we're going to get to where he lines up. Couple of contributing factors here to that discussion. But first, I want to talk about who the player is. Jawaan was a guy who didn't test at the combine. So I had to do film-only evaluation on him when he came out. And he was a guy that I had on my draft board. I think I had him in the third round. He went in the second. I think he's a quality player in terms of length, in terms of the dimensions. I think it's 35 and a quarter is his reach. That's certainly up there with the standards that the Chiefs push. So it's a fit there. He is a polar opposite of Orlando Brown in that while he does have a very similar reach, he's not an overly strong upper body player. He is not a grinder in the run game. He, and his best attribute, in my opinion, and from all the breakdowns that I've done, are his feet. He is the real deal from the ankle down, and that's what matters because
that's what you love to hear.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just sitting here. I'm grinning because that's exactly what you want to hear about a tackle.
And that's the paradigm shift back towards what we've seen in the past. Now, I'm not ready to say that he's going to evolve into as good as Eric Fisher because this is a significant change going to the left-hand side. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But he gives you what you haven't had in Orlando, and that is the nimbleness. The vertical set in particular, he's got great quick feet. His chop is all over the place. He can reroute and get back inside when people try to spin on him. There's a lot of film floating out there. My guy from RGR, Dan Harms, has done some good work. You guys have heard him here as well. You can check out his timeline because I'm not stealing because I didn't have time or else I would have.
Yeah, and one other thing that I think is a huge point to point out is if he is flipping over to the left-hand side, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the second segment, he has Joe Thuney next to him, and that is a huge, huge deal. Yeah. We talked about Thuney being a huge deal if they went and got a left tackle in the draft. This gives them the ability to feel comfortable with the guy that's going to be next to him, knowing that he's an all-pro at his own position, and he's going to be able to help him out. Yeah,
it goes a very, very, very long way. But that said, between the feet and the reach, he doesn't have the nasty as much. He will finish blocks pretty well, but it's not like he's hunting down victims like you've seen Orlando Brown do sometimes. Although, if he ends up on the right-hand side and ends up playing next to Trey, I think some of that will rub off as well. So I like that combination for the future in regards to like what the demeanor is. But he is here back to the old school Andy Reid, Andy Hick prototype for tackle. He's here to protect the passer. That's job number one. And it comes down to the feet and the reach, and that's what he does very well.
Yeah, and when you say he's here to protect the passer, that means that there are a couple of things that people don't like about his ability in the run game. I understand it, but that's not what Kansas City does. That's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is protecting Patrick Mahomes, and they are in a great scenario with this move.
Yeah, and believe me, don't get me started about the run. We're going to talk about that coming up. You can learn to block the run better than you can learn to defend pass rushers like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and everybody that you're going to see in this division. So
better than you could try to learn the feet.
Yes, this is significant. So yeah. I'm not going to bet against him being able to develop his run game, but if I was going to start laying some action, you guys know where I would go because right now March Madness is about to kick off. Rock Chalk once again. I know you guys are picking against him, and that's okay, Mizzou fans. You get your action as well. The easiest way to do it is on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Go check them out because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet. So if your first bet loses, you can earn up to $1,000 in bonus bets applied to your account that you can then lay some new action down. That's only if your first bet doesn't win, and it's super simple in the sportsbook app that is clean, easy, super simple to use, and get you into the action right away. Then you can go for all the bets, whether it's just the outcomes, the money lines. You can get point scorers, threes, offensive rebounds. You know, who creates the last turnover of the ball game. You want to get into all that. You can roll it up into a same-game parlay. There's all kinds of betting available out there. You can get an even bigger payout. So right now, don't miss your sweat. First bet of up to $1,000 in bonus bets applied to your account when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. It's down there underneath Chris over there. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's where you can find it all. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA and the NFL. So circumstances are very, very clear. Played right tackle in college, played right tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, played for Doug Peterson, and I do think a lot of this went into it because when you're searching for fits, there's probably not a better fit for a guy who is successful in Doug's offense to come to Kansas City and vice versa. So I'm a little surprised. And that, yeah, exactly. Like firsthand knowledge. In fact, he gave up 5 sacks on the season. 2 of them were to the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 others were to the Eagles, both Super Bowl teams, and then 1 stray one to the Texans. Credit Jerry Hughes. But I think what that tells you is the fit is there. He understands the offensive concepts. The blocking schemes, I'm guessing, are similar, although I have not spoken to anybody who really dissects the Jags offensive line group. But that goes a long way. And I think that gives you a little bit of baseline to what the Thunder is here, that the Chiefs came out and said, we expect him, through Nate Taylor, I believe, was the one who got it out there, that we expect him to play left tackle. Oh, hey, that's what we're paying for. That's not necessarily the case, though, is it?
No, and James Palmer, I think, was the first one that came out and said that, although there has been several people that have come out and said it. Albert Breer, I think, said it as well. And I don't know. I think that if you're quite frankly, if you're Kansas City and you're Brett Veach and you're still trying to make other moves, it doesn't hurt to give misinformation to people. It doesn't hurt to make them think that maybe you're out in the market for somebody else.
It's still Lion season, man.
Yep. Yeah, and Aaron Wilson, and I have to say this before we go on, Aaron Wilson knows the Houston Texans inside and out. He does a fantastic job down there. He's been covering them for years. And he said that the Chiefs were talking about trading for Laramie Tunsil. I have a hard time seeing that still being the case here. But
let me walk through this scenario for you. You have now said, I got a guy. We're happy with him. He's so athletic. He's going to play left for us. We don't need your guy.
Exactly.
Guess what? The price just come down.
Yep.
And I have a feeling.
If nobody else is interested, it did.
Exactly. It comes down to interest. And if you're in a position where you understand that you are one of maybe one or two teams that is really considering doing this, anything you say or do to bring down the cost to you, I do think this is a bit of a smokescreen. In a pinch, do they think that he's athletic enough to go play left? I'll bet that they do. I'll bet Andy Heck has enough faith, especially if they feel Lucas Niang is ready to play. But if not, in the meantime, you're sending the signal to the Houston Texans. Listen, man, we got to figure it out. I mean, we'd love to have two primetime in the prime of their career age tackles, but we don't need your guy. We're happy here. So that, I think, provides an opportunity. And so if they did pursue Tunsil, if that cost comes down to you, here's my big question to you. $60 million guaranteed on the right. Can you live with that and then add Tunsil on top? Seems like a stretch.
It does seem like a stretch. I can live with it, though. Because, and here's why. They more than likely are not going to be spending at the wide receiver position. That just seems to be the way things are going. Nobody has been signed in free agency at the wide receiver position. So that is still going to be something to watch. I don't expect them to spend money, but if you're going to give Mahomes a situation where he's got Tunsil on the left, Taylor on the right, and then he's got the three guys that have been there for him the past several years, he could throw for, and I feel like this is almost joking, but he could throw for 5,500, 6,000 yards because he's going to have all day to throw.
I mean, let's be real. Let's be logistically real, and I'll tell you guys the difference. Jawaan Taylor playing for a lesser offensive line as a whole, and with, I'd still argue, maybe a slightly better wide receiver group. I don't know. It might have been pretty dang close. Put up 16 pressures allowed this last season. Orlando Brown gave up 47, and Andrew Wiley gave up 49. So the amount of lockdown you just threw on this is roughly about, what, an eighth of the pressure. If he just plays the same, if he doesn't improve anymore, what that buys in terms of offensive output from the quarterback alone just is going to be baffling. So if you were to add another tackle on top,
the league already.
Exactly. Now they have the Jones extension. They have the Mahomes restructure that they could do. They can pull out $60 million pretty quick here. So for those that are saying they can't afford it, there are ways.
They could do Tooney. They could restructure Tooney. They could restructure Travis Kelce, Butker. There's a couple of guys that they could restructure. Mahomes is the obvious one because it's so much. But the other thing, and I know you're talking Tunsil, I know that's what we focused on. But the other thing that this allows them to do, in my opinion, is this allows them to not foreshadow what they're going to do in the draft. Mm-hmm. Let's say they don't go get Tunsil. Now they could still go up and trade up to go get a left tackle that they like. Mm-hmm. Just because people aren't going to think that they're going to be doing it, they have the ability to go do something like that and really not tip their hand.
Well, and it also future-proofs the draft itself. If you're unable to reach that kind of lofty point for a true left, and you do have to come back, and you do feel this is true, and this is all not lip service, if you feel that Jawaan Taylor can play left, now all of a sudden your options open up. Now you're looking at possibly drafting a right tackle, and I think that makes more sense because it allows you to have that backup. So now we're talking, we've covered in 14 minutes here 3 backup plans for Brett Veach. So I think we see the layered opportunities there that they build in from this front office. And I know there's a lot more aspects to it, and you guys have questions. If we can get to a user question or two in the third segment, we will do that. But it allows them versatility. I think that's the bottom line when I take a look at it.
No, it's absolutely giving them versatility, and it gives them the ability to maybe focus on the other premium position that they haven't signed so far in free agency in pass rusher. That's going to be something that they still need, and they are going to need to add somebody somewhere. And you're right. I mean, now they have the ability to go maybe get a right tackle in the second or third round, or maybe they stay where they are and they take the best right tackle in the draft at 31.
True.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't like it necessarily, but I wouldn't hate it because you're investing in protecting Patrick Mahomes. And if this line becomes the best line in the NFL, I'm not going to hate that.
You think not? Yeah, I think I'm good for that.
Yeah. I mean, he averaged over 300 yards passing last year. This is a scenario where he could actually pass for maybe even more than that this coming year, because this line is going to give him the ability to do that.
Now, that leaves a couple of free agents that we need to talk about that are leaving the Kansas City Chiefs. And what does that mean as an overall to the offensive unit? There are possibilities out there, and I see you guys have some questions. We'll get to those right after this.
And I want to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar. The Built Bar March Madness bracket is here. We know that you have a favorite Built Bar or Puff, and now's your time to make it count. Go to BuiltMarchMadness.com to vote your favorites. You know, I'll be voting for the chocolate brownie puff, the chocolate brownie bar. I really enjoyed that one. And if you want the Chiefs to win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will get a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, and you will not understand how amazing they are until you try them for yourself. Run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick.
Thank you guys for being with us live as we go down the Larry Puff signing and what it means for the Kansas City Chiefs. I do see a bunch of comments out there from Pono, from Nitty, from K-Floss, a bunch of folks. Doug's in the house. Scott Vansel, nice to see you. Just to address a couple of things. Yes, Laramie Tunsil would still be an option, even though he's due to make, I think it's 22.8 or something on the cap this year. Any trade would nearly automatically come with a extended contract that restructures the whole thing. So don't worry about what it is right now. The total money and the guaranteed money is probably the only thing that we have to be concerned about at that point. So not to set that aside, we can revisit any Tunsil rumors as they go forward. But what are the Chiefs? Go ahead.
I was just going to say Tunsil's number is 18.5. That's his salary. That's the only thing Kansas City would be on the hook for right now. That's okay, so doable. 18. And I agree with you. If they're going to trade for him, they're going to do an extension. It's going to be, it's going to be cheaper than that. So that'll be opened up. But that's his salary. Doesn't matter what the bonus is. Doesn't matter what he's owed by the Texans. It would just be the 18.5.
That makes sense. Okay. So what does that do for us? It allows that option still, and we'll get into the details as rumor mill either cooks up or slows down or whatever it does. There are other rumors out there, but let's take a look at what is happening right here. Andrew Wiley got an $8 million a year contract for a guy who's made a total of $6 million in his, 5-6 seasons in Kansas City. It's a great payday for him. The Chiefs were not in a place to, I think, match that for the level of play that they're getting. Let's be real. Jawaan Taylor, even if he stays on the right-hand side, is a dramatic upgrade from Andrew Wiley. So don't get hung up on they gave him 8. We could have kept Wiley instead of 20 for Taylor. They are different players, and they are different levels of players. So he's obviously gone. No rumors about Orlando Brown yet. I haven't heard a peep or a whisper about anybody being interested in the contract that he's looking for. So that's another player that's probably out there. What does that mean for what the Chiefs do next? Tunsil's part of that. We'll see how those talks go. But another very interesting one is a lot of people want to know about what's going on with OBJ. Chiefs were one of 12 teams that were out at his workout. And that's a high dollar aspect as well. So, Chris, you know the numbers and the massaging that can go on in order to get all these things done. Is it even a possibility to get both Tunsil and OBJ? Is it one or the other, or is it not even close to reality?
If they decide they want to make some moves, I think that it's possible. But I hate doing this because I know you just asked the question, but it literally just came out as we're recording right now. Jawaan Taylor's deal with the Chiefs. So we now know the numbers. Signing bonus is 18.9. Base salary is 1.08 million in 2023. A workout bonus of 20K. So in 2023, his number will be, it's a 4-year deal, so that's roughly $5 million is what he's going to cap. $5.5 million, roughly. Please don't quote me on that. I'm not sitting here doing the math. I'm just looking at it. His 24 through 26 annual base salary is 19.5 with an annual workout bonus of 500,000. He will earn 20 million in cash each year from Kansas City. They went on a straight deal with him. It is not a graduated deal. I think that actually also tells you what they think of him because it's not a graduated deal. So it's one thing where they want to be able to keep him long term.
Yeah. There's no
we still don't know the guarantees, right? We still don't know the guarantees and how much is actually literally guaranteed. But the money, that's the money right there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what does that tell you? That they're obviously squeezing everything they can in this year. He's going to be 1.1 against the cap plus what would you say, 4.5 in bonus? So
18.9. So yeah, 5.5 roughly.
Wow. 5.5. Okay. And then you go from there. I agree with you. That does say that they have faith in his future, whether it be on the right or the left. That is still a lot to pay, a right tackle. But with no outs in there, that's a contract you expect to be fulfilled for the most part, barring any kind of setback. So what is that?
He's 25, right? So
he is.
He won't even be 30 when this contract's over.
Exactly. And I think that's the big thing is you get more athleticism. Given that you are losing both tackles, you really have to start from that as the point of I have zero starter level athleticism on this team. So now you're getting an upgrade in athleticism from what you've had before. Yes, you're paying for it. Yes, you have to figure out the other side. Is that Lucas Niang? That's what becomes the question because that's the other piece of this. It's not just about how easy is it to flip over to the left side because Mitch Schwartz will tell you it is not always that easy. It is not just a Madden flipping the position number or listing. It takes really relearning everything. And Mitch's brother has a very colorful way of putting it. I'm not putting it on this show, but you guys have probably heard it before. But the other thing that has to wrap there is if you're not going to go out and get another left tackle and you're going to put Taylor on the left, as they've hinted at, that means that right now Lucas Niang is penciled as your starter, and you have to have faith in that. And that's a little bit surprising to me because I'm all for continuity, but I would have thought they would have peppered Niang in a little bit more in the playoff run late in the season, at least to see what they have.
And one of the things that came out right after during the combine was that Niang lost a lot of weight when he wasn't able to work out. He lost a ton of weight because of the inability to do activity because of the injury he had. So that's something to watch. And I do agree with you. I think it's kind of surprising that Kansas City would want to have Niang as their starter. So to me, that means that they're still probably looking for another tackle, whether it's left or right. We'll see. I will say this. Based on the contract and the way he's getting paid left tackle money. So there is that. But you could also make an argument that he is probably the best or one of the best right tackles in the NFL. And at 25 years old, that contract is probably going to be cheap in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. And honestly, every year we move farther down the pendulum of you need two tackles. It's not a leftover right as much as it used to be.
Can we talk about another quick rumor that I just find amazing? James Palmer was on NFL Network on Good Morning Football, and he said that what he has heard is that over the past couple of weeks, Kansas City Mahomes specifically is being blown up by wide receivers that want to come play in Kansas City.
Love it.
This is what Kansas City has right now. And I know we haven't talked about receiver very much, but this is my point. You have the best player on the planet. Players want to come here. Yes, Taylor didn't take a pay cut to come here, but he's guaranteed to be fighting for a Super Bowl for the next 4 years. And now you're in a situation where you could probably get by with a little bit less at wide receiver because your offensive line is going to be better and you're going to be able to give your QB more time to throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, it's something we've seen happen with Tom Brady. It's something we've been talking about happening in Kansas City for a couple of years now. So if there's been a question out there hanging out about what we said, that this is now a baby dynasty, it's still a dynasty. It's little, But it's a real dynasty. This is the effect of doing it. And I wonder if in the league, in the minds of the wide receivers out there across the league that have the ability to choose their future, if it's not now, okay, they really can do it. They really can go on a dynastic run, and I want to be part of it.
Yeah. And there's, and like we said earlier, no wide receivers have signed as of this recording right now. We're recording this Monday night about 5:55 Central. So just know that if something drops very soon, we were recording before it dropped. I do think that wide receivers are going to start going off the market probably in the next, I'd say 12 to 14, 16 hours. But the question, though, is who's the first person and what kind of domino is that to all the other wide receivers? What are they going to get year-wise? What are they going to get in APY? Because that's going to drive what the other teams are going to pay the other wide receivers out there on the market.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, folks, I'm going to be live on RGR here shortly. You can find us over on that channel. But real quick, I want to answer Pono's question. Pono Kawhi, mahalo for the question. Chris, just point blank, top of your head, no deep dive. What would you try to do? What do you think is fair compensation for Laremy Tunsil aside from the contract? In terms of draft picks.
I'd give a third. I'd consider a second. Yep. I'd probably give other picks as well if they really wanted it, but I'd give a third easily, without question. Okay. I'd even consider a second.
I don't think this gets done without a first. So would you give a first and a third?
See, I don't think it's going to cost a first because they have to be competing against somebody else. That's the thing. And you look at what a guy like Jalen Ramsey just went for. He went for a third-round pick for one of the best corners in the NFL. And I know left tackle is a different position, but
it's also a premier. Yeah, I'm with you. Right,
but if Kansas City is the only one that's bidding in this, I don't know that it's going to have to be a first-round pick. Okay. I would consider a first-round pick if you know that you can get a deal done and you have a deal done before you get them traded over. And I want to answer somebody else's question. They don't have to make any moves to sign Taylor. This is a move that they can do on the cap that they have right now. If they were to trade for Laremy Tunsil, that is a move that they would have to make some moves to do. But they don't have to do anything with the Mahomes contract, I believe, until Friday. It's the third day of the league year where they'd have to roll that if they were going to roll it at all. So that has some open ability to be done in the next couple of days. And they don't actually have to be cap compliant until 3 p.m. Central Time or 3 p.m. Arrowhead Time on Wednesday.
Okay, gotcha.
When the new league year opens.
Okay. Well, then that's what we will aim towards. That's where we're at today. Thank you for joining us live. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on YouTube. Check out another show. The Locked On NFL Draft Show is rolling. Locked On NFL Show is rolling. You guys can get all this information because the free agent frenzy, we're not going to have time to cover it on the draft show with Keith and Damian, but those guys do a great job. They've taken over from me recently, and I think you guys will dig them as well. You can find all my draft work on NFL33.com right now. Go get that, including the pods, the videos, the articles, the whole 9 yards. But thank you for being with us today. We'll have more for you as free agency rolls on, and we will talk to you tomorrow.